simple questions, nothing too technical. I want to know, at what point in your life did you know that you wanted to be a musician and do this for a living?
Pretty much it happened pretty early for me. I started playing bands back, I was a product like so many musicians were of the Ed Sullivan performances, so that really got me started back then. I think every one of my friends got a guitar or a drum kit for Christmas that year that the Beatles and the Stones and the Kinks were on,
Sure.
So that started it, and, and I was pretty much into sports most of my high school years, but I still played and, played in a couple garage bands then, But just as I started college, my first band was a band called Wild Cherry. We had a hit single, Play That Funky Music, White Boy.
Know it very well.
Yeah, so we got together, I graduated high school 72, went a year to Pitt, we joined Wild Cherry, we put that together about 73 or 4, and then really within a year, we had recorded that song, and, it became a big hit in 76. So that sort of set me on the path.
Now, who are some of the influential artists that you looked up to earlier in your career that maybe has helped to shape your musical style?
Well, my favorite guitarist has always been Jeff Beck, and still is to this day. And
amen.
I still listen to Beckel, religiously, and the Green Apple album and Truth. They're on my iPod. I listen to them probably a couple times a month. Both those records are still inspirational, and pretty much the British invasion guitar players, and the John Mayall graduates, like Clapton and Mick Taylor, and Peter Green was a particular favorite of mine. Mostly the blues rock guys, and of course, most of the seminal classic rock bands. I was a big Leslie West fan. Pretty much all the guitar players of the early '70s, and inspired me. The Allman Brothers were a big inspiration. From the American side, Johnny Winter, of course, from a slide perspective. But I pretty much, and in our day, we didn't have anything but a good stereo. If you were lucky, no phones, no games, anything. So it was pretty much, whenever a new album came out, it was quite an event. You get together with your friends and listen to the new releases. I actually did a Wikipedia search on releases during that time period, and I think I had about 50% of the records that were released.
Wow, that's impressive.
Jim Tall, I was a big early Pink Floyd fan, all the way from, Adam Hart, Mother, Echoes, all the old stuff, all the way up to the present, their final release. So I've always been sort of a music head, but it really started for me, in those early days, seeing the band on Ed Sullivan show.
Sure. Now, as a guitarist, are you self-taught?
What's that?
Are you self-taught as a guitarist?
I took 2 or 3 years of lessons from an old Italian gentleman when I first got my first guitar. His name was Jeremy Condoretto. I still remember him. He would actually come to his house, and my mother would clear out the living room, and he'd set up a music stand. So I had 2 years of lessons with him. And he was more like a big band jazz guitarist. So he taught me very good fundamentals and taught me to read music. And so that was real instrumental in it. But, after those 2 years, it was pretty much all self-taught after that, just, dropping the needle on the record over and over again and, working out songs and parts. So, pretty much after those couple formative years with Jerry, it was all self-taught from there.
He set you on the right path.
He sure did, yeah. He was a great guitarist, and, taught me to use my pinky, on the fretting hand. We have a lot of guitar players that are self-taught, never quite get, use that finger.
I have such a problem with that, man. Such a problem.
Yeah. And it's, so having those, good technique instructions early on, set me on a good path.
Of course. Now, how did you get involved as a recording engineer and producer?
Well, when I was after Wild Cherry, I stayed in Pittsburgh for several years and worked in some bands up there. Some, we were really big on the local circuit, but never really, couldn't get a record deal with the band I had called Airborne. So I relocated to Florida, thinking at the time that Daytona Beach would be a music mecca. The thing, the tri-state area where I grew up, Pennsylvania, Ohio, West Virginia, we worked all the time. There was tons of clubs, and we were really spoiled in that respect. It was sort of like in Austin or Seattle,
Sure.
It was a great music time, but it was slowing down a bit, and I came to Florida thinking, that would, being a vacation destination, there'd be tons of bands, and to my surprise, there really wasn't. There was ran into Bob Greenlee, who owned King Snake Records. He had a band called Midnight Creepers, which I eventually joined. But he also had a small studio that was he was building, and so I joined forces with him and started engineering. You know, and I was always the guy in the band, even as a young person that had the tape recorder, you know, 2-track, 4-track, whatever. So I would always be the guy that was recording our rehearsals and such. So I had an interest in it early on. But that got more serious there, and at King Snake at the time, Pete Carr, who's quite famous, Muscle Shoals guitarist, and he's from Daytona, was living here at the time. So it was Pete and I became the engineers at King Snake, and Bob subsequently started a blues record label called King Snake Records, and so I just became an engineer for him and played blues with the band on the weekends and did a lot of blues festivals. But I engineered 5 days a week there, and I think probably for 15 years straight.
Oh wow!
And we did over 100 releases. And a lot of the artists that we had ended up on Alligator. You know, we're basically a production house, and we would we'd record the records and then try to move them up the food chain to a bigger label. And then we had our own custom labels. You know, we couldn't place them. We put a lot of records out ourselves, and got on the Living Blues chart. So we're mostly a roots label, blues label. And but we did over 100 records. Kenny Neal, Lucky Peterson, Noble Thin Man Watts was a famous sax player from the 50s.
Yep.
Patty Kinsey, Kinsey Report's father. Lucky Peterson's dad, from over in Tampa, and Dr. Hector and the Groove Injectors, and on and on. So I think my discography, some of it's up there on the Hell Music Guide. It has a lot of them there. But yeah, that was fun. I always enjoyed it. In fact, I still do all the production and engineering for the Foghat releases as well.
Nice.
So I keep my hand in.
Now, I looked at your bio on the Foghat website, and there's a list pretty much of everybody you've played with, and you've played with everybody. I was impressed. I mean, my God, all the people you played with. Is there someone out there that's pretty new that you find impressive that you would like to go play with?
Well, I taught in college for the last 4 or 5 years up here at Daytona State, and these ensemble courses that I was instructing in. And I got introduced to a lot of great new bands that I would have probably never otherwise have heard of, like the Views. I'm a big Modest Mouse fan, especially when they had Johnny Marr in there.
Yep.
BC, Cage the Elephant I like. There's quite a few young bands that I'm getting into, whether I can't say that, the guys that I would like to play with probably are more in my genre, like Joe Bonamassa or somebody like that,
sure.
More blues rock style. He's a great player. Derek Trucks, I actually recorded him at King Snake Studios.
Oh wow!
When he was 10 years old, his dad brought him over, and even at 10 years old, he was a child prodigy, channeling Dwayne Allman, really.
Wow.
And that was fantastic, but I'd like to play with him. He has a great musical style, and he's probably the best slide player on the planet, in the blues category for sure. But those guys I'd like to play with, and one of the guys I never got to open for or, share a concert stage with was Eric Clapton. I would, would love to, get up there for a few minutes on this Crossroads stage one of these days.
Sure. Oh, dream come true. Now for like me, I've been doing this for 23 years. We know the backstage. I actually roadied for Green Day in 1991, so I know what a typical day is like in the life of a touring musician. But for those that are going to listen to this and read this interview, what is a typical day like in the life of a touring musician from your perspective?
Well, from my perspective, and for the last 10 years, we've had quite a different touring situation from when we used to have tractor trailers and buses. And really, our day consists of, in fact, it's going to happen tomorrow. I'm going to leave my house at 6 a.m. to catch a flight out of Orlando and fly to Connecticut. We get into town usually early afternoon, do a sound check. If you have time, catch a few winks, a nap or something, get something to eat, and play a concert. And if we're doing several in a row, you get 4 or 5 hours of sleep and wake up and do it again the next day, early morning. And we try to catch the early flights out in case we have any trouble with travel. And that almost entirely is my day. have a glass of wine at night, try to get some sleep, and because we're up at 5, 6 in the morning almost every touring day.
Yeah, people think it's all party all the time, you know.
Yeah,
Nope.
that pretty much went on in the 80s. They died a horrible, necessary death. First of all, we're mature musicians now. We're family men, so those days are way behind us now. We're more concerned with staying healthy and being energetic for the performance, and we have a strict no party rule anytime before on a performance day. So that's sort of a in stone band rules, and I a lot of people, especially when you're younger, they're under the impression that they can play better when they're high or drunk, and
sure,
nobody does. Nobody ever does, and it really just sucks the life out of you if you're traveling the way that we do. So yeah, we're pretty mature about the whole thing now, and it's a business. I'm sure, and if you go on any major tour now, it's especially big ones that are traveling with 40, 50 technicians and crew and stage guys, all got to move like clockwork. Everybody has a job to do, and we're a fairly lean and mean organization. We travel 4 musicians and 3 or 4 technicians, and so everybody's busy from the day from the time we hit the venue till the time we leave the venue. So it's all business, but it's all fun. We have a ball doing it. I still love to play, and our band sounds great. So that's the reward.
So, final question: what is next for you and Foghat?
Well, we're winding down our touring year. In fact, I think the Miami show may be one of the last ones of the year for us.
Aren't we lucky?
So we, pretty much December, from the Thanksgiving and holiday season, we take it a little easy. But we have a band house up in Central Florida near Eustis, and because Roger lives in New York, and our bass player Craig lives in Philadelphia. And so we all get together at the band house for several weeks and plot out the song and concert list for the coming year and do some writing and rehearsing, and that's where we actually record. I have my Pro Tools set up over there in our band house, and we do the lion's share of our recording there. And we're about halfway into a new album right now, so we're in the completing stages of that. And I hope to have a new release sometime next year.
Awesome. We're definitely looking forward to it. And I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to do this interview with us. We're going to turn it around real quick. Probably have it up and running by this evening. And we'll send it out to the publicists and get it up on your guys' website.
All right. Well, sounds great, Joel. Nice talking to you, man.
All right, great. One more thing. My dad was a POW in Vietnam for 4 years, so we do a lot of charity work with disabled American vets, and I'm wondering if either before or after the Miami show, if we can come back and maybe the band could sign a guitar that we can give to disabled American vets for the silent auction.
It would be our pleasure, Bill.
All right, awesome. All right, I look forward to seeing you guys, and hey, safe travels to you, man.
Thanks, man. Nice talking to you.
All right, see you next month.
All right, Bill.
Later.
Later on.
Bye.